kids podcast.
You can go slow.
A kids podcast about.
Hello, my name is Ari and I help produce this show you're listening to. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you for being here with us. It means so much that you're choosing to spend your time listening to this show and hearing what we've made for you. We truly couldn't do this without you. So I hope you enjoy this episode.
What is failure?
Failure is when you mess something up.
It's like when butterflies get into the chrysalis wrong and then they die. And they don't turn into butterflies.
Some people just give up and some others don't give up, but keep on going.
Failure to me is not getting back up. We are all going to go through these times in our lives where life knocks us down, where we don't feel our best. But failure to me is, one, not obtaining the goal that you originally set out to attain. But also, failure is in the not getting back up to go get that goal again.
Welcome to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. I'm Matthew. I'm a teacher, a librarian, and I'm your host. The voices you heard at the top of our show were from Christina, Demetria, Junior, and Layman. Each week we talk about the big things going on in your world with a different author from our Kids Book About series.
Hi, my name is Dr. Layman Hicks. I am an African-American male, father, motivational speaker, son, author. In fact, I am the author of A Kid's Book About Failure.
Ooh, failure. I'm gonna be real with you listeners. Failure and me, we have a funny relationship. I know that failure is a necessary part of learning and growing, and that makes me less afraid to fail. But I also know that it can feel really awful and embarrassing, and that makes me want to avoid it if I can. Do you think everybody fails? Is that something we all experience in our own ways?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone experiences failure, whether that is you failed a test or you, like as I describe in the book, you were trying to learn how to ride a bicycle and you fell down. You were learning to take your first few steps and you fell down. You didn't reach the goal that you had in your life. So now you feel like a failure. Every single one of us will deal with failure in our lives for the rest of our life. Those who try to stay away from failure are only doing yourself a disservice.
I realize I told you a few seconds ago that I often think about avoiding failure in order to avoid those icky feelings. Layman has a great take on this.
I think a lot of people try to avoid failing simply because they are afraid of what other people may view them as. You are a failure. Okay, I don't want to fail because I don't want other people to see me as a failure. I don't want to fail because I don't want to deal with the rejection. I don't want to fail because I don't want to deal with the hurt, the pain that it may cause me. So most people avoid failure not to deal with all the other things that they think will happen. Just because you fail does not mean you are a failure. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. Every single person who is successful today, who we may look up to, president, vice presidents of corporations, organizations, musical artists, painters, every single person, your own mom and dad, they have all failed. What if they tried to avoid failure for the rest of their life? No one would be where they are today. And so it's so important that you stop looking at failure as a thing that you need to avoid and embrace it and go full throttle.
I learned a phrase a few years ago from a friend of mine that is stuck so tightly in my brain that I had to share it with Layman. The phrase is failing forward. It means using failure to learn and to propel yourself forward. It didn't surprise me that Layman also knows this phrase well.
It's so important that you fail forward. What I tell a lot of kids today is that even in your failure, you're 9 times out of 10 more successful than the person who did not try. Because in that failure, you learn some lessons that you can now use later in life. And once again, when you apply for whatever it is that you were trying to do. And so it's important to fail forward. Famous motivational speaker Les Brown says this. He says, when you fail, make sure you land on your back. Because if you can look up, then you can get up. And if you can get up, then you can still fight for your dreams. And in that, what he is saying is that you're going to fail, but you have to get back up. And if you're able to get back up, then you keep fighting, you keep persisting, because that's what life dictates for us. That's what it calls for us to do. So many young people today are afraid, again, just so afraid of what other people are going to think. And because of that fear, it stops them from persisting. And what I truly believe in my wildest thoughts is that failure is only the bridge to get to success. The failure that we have is that bridge. You have to fail in order to become a success. So why not get back up and try it again?
I gotta admit, hearing you have to fail in order to become a success, so why not get back up and try it? That's a phrase I may never tire of hearing. That's part of the process. It's part of the ingredients in the cake. Otherwise, you don't have a cake.
It's all about perspective. And I always tell people all the time, like, think about WD-40. We know WD-40 simply as water displacement 40. It's this blue and yellow can. We spray it whenever we hear things squeaking. Well, how did WD-40 get its name? The people who created WD-40 failed 39 times. And on the 40th try, they came up with the right concoction, which we now know as WD-40. Are you willing to fail 39 times in order to create something that will be used over and over again to solve problems in this world? Are you willing to do it? Most people are not. The question, though, is why not? Why are you not willing to get up, to keep going? Because every single time you are learning something new.
We'll be back in a minute with more from Dr. Layman Hicks right after this quick break.
There are a lot of facts we learn every day.
Did you know that pigeons are the only bird to feed their chicks milk?
Did you know that potatoes can grow on Mars?
And did you know a monarch butterfly is poisonous? And did you know a snail has more than 1,000 teeth? And did you know a dragonfly actually eats, the flies? If you hate them, they're just flying around and you hate them, they'll just actually eat them. They eat little bugs.
Dragonflies eat little bugs?
Yeah.
Nice.
But those facts lead us to a much bigger question. How do we know what we think is true is actually true? Hi, friends. I'm Ariane Nettles. I'm a journalist, a college professor, and host of Is That True? It's a kids podcast about facts. Each week, we go on a fact-checking investigation with experts and enthusiasts, because when you have evidence to support your knowledge, what you know becomes even stronger. Even cooler, you are a key part of this show. We need you to make it happen. We need your facts. Maybe it's something you know about science or sports. Animals or world records? History or space? There's no limit to what we can learn about. New episodes of Is That True release every Wednesday wherever podcasts are found. This is Ariane, and I can't wait to investigate with you.
Here at A Kids Company About, we make podcasts, but also books, classes, and even more for kids and families just like yours. We've got a couple new and upcoming books in our Little Book About board book series, embracing toddlerhood's most essential topics. Here's one of our authors sharing a sneak peek.
Hey, my name's Alicia, and I'm the author and illustrator of A Little Book About Grit, a new book in the series about what it means to never give up and how that superpower supercharges your growth. Learn more about A Little Book About Grit by visiting akidsco.com.
Welcome back to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about failure with A Kid's Book About author Dr. Layman Hicks. Can I ask you a question? I know this is something that may be hard for some of you to share. If you have a trusted friend or family member nearby, I'd love for you to take turns sharing with them too. Ready? Here it goes. How does failure or failing make you feel?
Failure makes me feel frustrated and angry.
It makes me feel different ways. Like, when I fail, sometimes you're really, really angry. Like, it didn't work. But some people make the best of it and take notes of what didn't work and what worked. Improve and try again.
Oh man, again, today I realized failing is a part of the process. It is a part of the process. But even in that, it doesn't make me feel good, because you put your all in something. You've been trying, you've been investing time and effort and money or whatever the case may be, relationship capital, all of this stuff. It does not make me feel good. But I know on the other side is that I've learned something and I am better because of it. When I had that fear of failure, I felt pain. I felt rejection. I felt like I wasn't good enough, like I couldn't anymore, that I couldn't sustain what I was trying to build. There was no good feeling with failure. But now that I've learned that failure is a part of the process, that I will have to fail in order to be someone, that failure is the investment for success, I realize, you know what? Get back up. Keep moving. Keep going. I always tell people, I tell in my student audiences, I tell my students that my great-grandmother said to me, baby, when you fall down, get back up. And so that was one of the things that she would say to me all the time. And that's what I try to get young people today to realize, is that when you fall down, you have to get back up. It hurts. Some people won't look at you the same. But again, your failure is simply an opportunity to go out there and continue to make a mark on this world. Someone will benefit from your failure.
It may seem unexpected or counterintuitive or maybe even just too impossible to be true, but believe it, someone will benefit from your failure. I hope that you are the one who benefits from your failure, but you may not be the only one to benefit from your failure.
So the 10th grade, I was accepted to the National Honor Society at Jefferson High School in Tampa, Florida. And in my high school, if you were a part of the National Honor Society, you were literally the bomb.com. Like, no one could tell you nothing. You were it. We were taught to believe that by being a part of the National Honor Society, you would literally get a 4.0 GPA. You would walk across the stage at graduation in a white robe where everyone else walked across the stage in a blue robe. You would get into any college that you wanted to get into. And so when I received that letter that said, congratulations, Layman Hicks, you've been accepted to the National Honor Society, I was like, yes, I'm in. A brother is good, right? But that didn't happen. So I had a test in world history. It was 7th period of the day. It was the last class and after lunch. And many of my friends and I, we decided that we were going to cheat on this test. Stupid decision. Well, I was sitting in the last row. My teacher had told us to clear our desk off. He came over to my row. He gave me the test. I took the test and put it on top of this cheat sheet. When I looked down, I noticed that I had every answer circled. I had his answer key. And so now I'm thinking, well, what do? You got the answer key to the test. Most people would be like, score, I got the answer key, I'm good. But I raised my hand trying to do the right thing while still doing the wrong thing. I raised my hand and was like, Mr. B, I have your answer key here. And so Mr. B came over to my desk, and when he took up the test, he saw my cheat sheet. And I got obviously in trouble. He gave me an F on the test. That just really scarred me. So like 2 weeks after that incident, I received a letter that said, regretfully, we have to inform you that you've been dismissed from the National Honor Society. They kicked the brother out. Like, how are you kicking me out of the NHS? Like, what about my goals? What about my dreams? What about the 4.0 GPA, walking across the stage in a white robe and everyone else walked across the stage in a blue robe, getting into any college that I wanted to get into? All of that was gone because of the dumb mistake that I had made. And so I literally, for weeks, dumb, you're stupid. Why would you do that? You're dumb, you're stupid. How could you do that? All this negative self-talk, this limiting belief that I had about myself, me calling myself a failure, all of this stuff that was just in me that I was just pouring. So not only did I have to worry about all of my friends see me getting caught cheating on a test, but and knowing that I got kicked out of NHS, but I also was putting all this additional pressure on myself by the destructive dialogue that I was having with internally. You're dumb, you're stupid. Why would you do that? How could you do that? For 6 weeks that happened. And then I remembered the words of my great grandmother, that when you fall down, you have to get back up. And so I made a determination that, they said that NHS, you would get a 4.0 GPA. Well, that became my goal. I wanted a 4.0 GPA when I graduated. And so I worked my butt off for 2 years. By the time that I graduated as the only black male in my graduating class with over a 4.0 GPA. I went to Florida State University, where I have a bachelor's and a master's degree. And then at the age of 29, I graduated with a doctorate degree. So it became a mission of mine not to be seen as a failure, but to use that situation as the bridge in order to become the man who I am today. And so that is probably a really memorable time, because I learned then that I am in control of my destiny. That yes, this situation happened to me, but it does not define me. And because it does not define me, I can take that situation, make it a part of my story, and use that to make the world better. And all of our failures that we go through, that happen to us, don't just go through those failures. One of my mentors would say, you don't go through things, you grow through things. And I had to understand that what I was going through was stretching me to become a better individual. That failure, that pain, that embarrassment, that rejection was stretching me to prepare me for moments like this. I wouldn't be able to have that story to tell had I not gone through the failure.
Listeners, I hope that story sticks with you. And I hope that in some way you can benefit from Layman's failure, from listening to it and learning from it. It's that sharing and that learning that Layman brought to creating a kid's book about failure. And those young people all across the country that he visits get to hear these messages as well.
It's so important to me, not that when we talk about failure and all of these tough conversations that we're having throughout A Kid's Book About, that we sit down and have the conversations that need to be had so we're better equipping our young people to go out into the world and make a difference that they will be able to make. 6, 7, and 8 years old, having conversations about money, about anxiety, about racism, systemic racism, about gratitude, about kindness, about just all these different topics that we've had in the series of A Kid's Book About is so important.
You've got many adventures and experiences ahead of you, listeners. I hope that the words of Dr. Layman Hicks can serve you and can be there for you when you need to hear them. Here's one more takeaway to leave you with before we go.
I've just changed the perspective of how I view failure. I know I am going to fail. It happens. But instead of running away from it, now I embrace that. And because I've embraced it, my perspective about being a failure and failing is completely different. Again, just because you fail does not mean you are a failure. To me, a failure is someone who sits on their butt and does not try again. That's a failure. That's failing.
Thank you to Dr. Layman Hicks, author of A Kid's Book About Failure, for joining us today. You can learn more about this book and others like it by visiting akidsco.com. And thank you to Christina, Demetria, and Junior for adding your voices to the show.
My name is Christina. I'm 11 years old and I live in New York. My favorite thing to do is watch anime, play Roblox, and listen to Melanie Martinez and Billie Eilish.
My name is Demetria. I am 5 years old. And my favorite thing to do is, more of like my favorite instrument is a violin. And I like to play songs on it. And I live in Massachusetts.
My name is Junior. I am 9 years old. I live in Maryland. My favorite thing is 3D printing, playing basketball, and video games.
If you want to be on a future episode of A Kid's Book About the podcast, or if you have a question you'd like us to consider, have a grown-up email us at listen@akidspodcastabout.com, and we'll send you the details. A Kid's Book About the podcast is written, edited, and produced by me, Matthew Winner, with help from Chad Michael Snavely and the team at Sound On Studios. Our executive producer is Jelani Memory, and this show was brought to you by A Kid's Podcast About. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found, and check out other podcasts made for kids just like you by visiting akidsco.com. Join us next week for a conversation about body image with A Kid's Book About author Rebecca Alexander.
Here at A Kid's Company About, we make podcasts, but also books, classes, and even more for kids just like you. We've got a really special upcoming book that I think you'll love. Here's our author sharing a sneak peek.
Hi, my name is Saraya Sutherland, and I am the author for The Kid's Book About Safety. This is a book about having hard conversations about what we're going to do in situations that can be really scary sometimes. But it's those conversations that are so important for us to be having now so that we are prepared when something bad does happen to respond in the right way.
Learn more about A Kid's Book About Safety by visiting akidsco.com.